Chris, what is your biggest takeaway from this game? Bucks getting it done.
That Giannis Antetokounmpo is a problem. He's a monster. And he played last night like I've been wanting him to play all season long, if not going back further than that. And that was he played to his strengths. One of Giannis's big problems is that he often plays to his weaknesses and shoots some threes, shoots a bunch of mid-range jump shots. Last night, he played to his strengths, which was dominating the paint. Only 5 of his 23 shots came outside of the paint, and 2 of those were like on the low block, just outside of the paint. All 28 of his points that didn't come from the free throw line came in the paint. His average shot was 2 feet. The distance on his average shot was 2 feet. Like, he was dominant. And the thing about Giannis that makes him so effective there is he doesn't just have to post up like, say, Shaq did. He can post. He obviously can get it off putbacks, off offensive rebounds. He can cut or dive. He can pick and roll for passes from teammates. He can get there in transition with the Euro step. Like, he has so many ways to get to the rim that he just needs to keep doing it. And last night he did that. Obviously, that was a big reason why he got to the foul line 17 times. Him hitting 13 of them. I want to say something about that. Obviously, an aberration, all right? It's only the second time in his 61 playoff games that he's ever had 10 or more free throw attempts and made more than 75% of them. That said, I think this speaks to Giannis's mental toughness. The fact that he will keep drawing fouls, the fact that he's not shying away from contact. This is a dude that not only misses free throws, he airballs free throws, like frequently. Like sometimes twice a game, he'll shoot an air ball. That is incredibly embarrassing for one of the best players in the world, a 2-time MVP, but he doesn't care. He keeps attacking, and he's going to have a night occasionally like he did last night. So to me, that's mental toughness. We saw what happened with Ben Simmons, but his aggressiveness, it's what got DeAndre Ayton to some degree in foul trouble. Ayton's fourth foul was on Giannis. That got him out of the game early in the third quarter. And, Ayton, who had 16 points, was dominant in the first half, wasn't able to do anything else in the second half going forward. So Giannis, to me, this whole game was about Giannis. Even early, guys, 4 of his 6 assists in the first quarter, he got Brook Lopez, Bobby Portis, great layups and dunks at the rim with nice passes. He got Drew Holiday an open 3 in transition early, and Holiday obviously was able to get in a rhythm from there. So this was all about Giannis to me.
Let me ask you a question. Now, we saw Giannis play equally as well. So if Holiday came into the game shooting 31% from the field, shooting 14% from the three-point line. So if Holiday doesn't shoot 57% and 50% from the 3, even if Giannis has that game, you think they win?
No, I mean, you need contributions from Middleton.
That's where I went.
Holiday later, but
I went with Middleton and Holiday because we have seen Giannis. Giannis was averaging 31 and 15. Giannis really couldn't do any more unless his other guys came along. He needed to get what CP3 was getting from Booker and Ayton, what he was getting from Booker and Bridges. That's what Giannis needed from Middleton and Holiday. And what we've seen right on cue, what happens, Chris, when they're on the road, they so-so. When they come home, they're world beaters. Giannis is going to be a world beater regardless because he's Giannis. He's a superstar. He's one of the 5 best players in the NBA. So he's going to be him. But what you also need is your guys that you count on the regular, which is Holiday and Middleton, is to be that. And they were that last night. Can they be that again in Game 4? Just think about this, Chris. Holiday was shooting 14% from the 3. He shot 50% last night. He was shooting 31% from the floor. He shot 57 last night. So he's going to have to continue that. Now, they're going to have to slow down Giannis. You can't keep letting him get 40-plus and 15 rebounds, or you're probably going to lose because all he needs now is one other guy because Middleton is due for a breakout game. Middleton is due for an efficient 25, 30-point game. And if you pair that with Giannis, you're going to have your hands full. But I thought the biggest reason, Giannis was Giannis, but Giannis was great in game 2. He didn't get any help from Holiday and Middleton. He got help from Portis and Connaughton also. But I thought those two guys were really key in them winning.
My turn. So to Chris's first point, last night, Giannis scored all 14 of his field goals within 5 feet or less of the basket. That hasn't happened for somebody scoring over 30 points in the game for the last 25 years in the NBA. Well, okay, so Giannis did what Giannis can do if you allow him to do that.
Yes.
What have we heard going back 2 years ago to Toronto? How did Toronto stop Giannis and beat him 4 straight times after they went up the Bucks 2-0? They built a wall. Mm-hmm. What happened last year? Miami built a wall in the first 3 games against Giannis and won all 3, and then he got hurt, but they were pretty much down and out already.
Yeah, they were down 3-0 anyway.
Correct. So I was so disappointed. It was a collision of issues last night for the visiting team because, first of all, Scott Foster shows up, and we've talked about it, Chris. You haven't heard this, but Scott Foster does get inside Chris Paul's head. And last night, I thought he got inside Phoenix's, got under their skin because Giannis did shoot 17 free throws to 16 total for the Phoenix Suns. And Scott Foster and Chris Paul have a long and bloody history going back and forth at each other. And Chris is now 0-12 in playoff games, refereed as the head referee by Scott Foster. So it didn't help that Scott Foster quickly got DeAndre Ayton in foul trouble, and Ayton wound up playing only 5 minutes in the second half and scoring only 2 points. Well, I fault Monty Williams. I'm a big fan of Monty, but I think he got full of himself, got carried away with the fact that his young emerging star 7-footer can guard Giannis. Not if Scott Foster is refereeing, because probably not if I'm refereeing or Shannon's refereeing, because it's just hard to guard him by yourself.
Right.
So they have not tried to build a wall. And Chris Paul said in his postgame last night, somehow, some way, we have to build a wall. Well, you better start in game 4. This thing's going to turn wildly around, and you're going to be up against it because you're allowing Giannis to score, what's he averaged, 40 points the last 2 games.
He's like 35
a game for these 3 games.
Yeah.
You're not going to win that way. This is how you stop him. You get him frustrated early, and you force him into shooting jump shots that he can't shoot or three-pointers that he really can't shoot.
Right.
And, again, some nights he's going to get hot-handed from the free throw line. He's had streaks. He was shot 75% in this league. I got that. But conversely, what I didn't see coming last night was that Devin Booker would go farther south than Phoenix is from Milwaukee because he's such a great shooter. And now we've 2 out of 3 games, game 1 and game 3, he's shot it
poorly,
like shockingly poorly. And last night was so bad that Monty Williams benched him for the whole 4th quarter. I took exception to it. I thought you put, unfortunately and unwittingly, you put Devin on even more of a 72-hour hot seat because now everybody's focused on Devin Booker is cold and you got to get him out of his slump. And I didn't think Monty helped him if he just let the game play out. Maybe he'd gotten a couple looks and made a couple of shots and felt better going into game 4. But the point is, they go as Devin Booker goes. So their formula for victory is Devin Booker has to make some early shots, and they have to take the lead, and they have to build a wall and get Giannis frustrated. He hyperventilates early in games. And he hyperventilated last night, and they had to pull him out for a couple of minutes early in the game because he's so amped that he can barely breathe. And I've never seen a superstar like that. And then back to Chris's theory that it was all about Giannis last night. So obviously, Phoenix goes up 6 in the 2nd quarter, and all of a sudden, the home team goes on a 16-3 run to close out the half. Giannis scored 2 of those 16 points. 3rd quarter, Phoenix cuts it all the way back to 4. And then what happens? A 24-6 run happens, and Drew Holiday scores or assists on 22 of the 24. So it wasn't about Giannis in either of those runs. He scores a lot of baskets that aren't the basket, but it's hard to overcome 41 points.
Yeah.
And it's hard to overcome the fact that he got your center in such deep foul trouble that he contributed 2 points in the second half. So collision, harmonic inconvergence of bad variables equaled a bad night for the visiting team.
Well, it's going to be a long series, Chris. If you keep letting Milwaukee get 80, 25, and 20 assists from their big three, we going for a long series. If they let that happen, because it was just the flip side of the 1 and 2. Because Chris Paul, Booker, and Ayton got 81, and then Chris Paul, Booker, and Bridges got 80-plus in Game 2. Well, it was the flip side. And if you let Giannis get off like this, and he get Holiday and Middleton to come along with him, because we saw this, all this is a reoccurring theme of what happened against the Nets. Everybody thought it was over. They got beat by, 39 in Game 2, and it's over. And Milwaukee came home. They won a close 3. They won really good Game 4. KD had a historic, Game 5. They won Game 6 and went back. With a superstar in a Game 7, Chris, I'm going to lean toward the superstar, because he can win you one game with winner take all, because he's very capable of going and getting another 40-plus, 15 rebounds with 6-7 assists.
He's going to have at least one more 40-point game.
Yes.
I think he might have two. I mean, they can't stop him. And I think, Skip, last night he was in the paint, and he wasn't just revving up, from the perimeter. That's where the wall's effective. He did it occasionally, but for the most part, they were starting him low, or, he was setting a pick for a guy, or that's how you combat the wall. So I think they have to be careful. If he's on the top of the key and he's revving up and he's going to drive, that's where the wall will be effective. But I also think the benefit of having him down low is that frees up the perimeter for Middleton and Holiday. So I think that's one of the things that enabled them to get going as well. So Milwaukee, Shannon, you've been saying it all postseason. They just need to play to their strength.
That's it.
They dominated the paint last night. You don't need to take as many threes. You can shoot the threes off of your interior dominance, and that's a more effective way to do that. So I thought that's what they did last night.
Well, so in the end, Chris, what's your gut feeling about Game 4?
I'm leaning, I know we got 2 more days to talk about it and make a prediction, but I'm leaning Milwaukee. I picked Phoenix in 6. I'm leaning Milwaukee in Game 4, and then Phoenix closes them out in the next 2. I know if they win Game 4, I know everybody will be saying Milwaukee's in control and they think they'll win the series, but I think that's how it's going to play out.
So my biggest concern right now for the visiting team is Devin Booker. I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought Monty Williams, who obviously knows Devin Booker a lot better than I do, but I thought he mishandled that situation at the end of the game by benching him for its late third and then all the way through the fourth quarter. The spotlight now is on Devin Booker, and I know he's a tough kid and he bounces back with big games after poor games, but he's never been in a finals before. And now, instead of letting him find some rhythm in the fourth quarter in a blowout, you've just put him in mothballs. You've forced him to sit at the end of the bench and have ABC just go solo shot after solo shot of what's wrong with Devin Booker. And that will be the story of the next 3 days, because you got to wait, obviously, 3 days until you play again. So I'm concerned because they need Devin to come out hot in Game 4. They're going to lose because they do go as he goes. And you can only expect Chris Paul to have a hot hand here and there. Right. And he had one in Game 6 and then turned right out in Game 1 and still had it. Got off to a fairly good start last night and then just faded into the, so to speak, sunset. So now I'm concerned about Devin Booker going into Game 4.
Well, I think, Skip, like you said, if he's had a poor shooting game every series. Again, all the 3 previous series, and he's always bounced back to have like 25 or more points when he comes off one of those poor shooting games. So I do think, look, we all know he tries to follow Kobe. He wants the Mamba mentality and all that. I do think he's mentally tough enough to put this game behind him. We in the media, we focus on momentum. I think the players look at it as it's a new game. Every single game is its own entity. That's why I think we see such fluctuations from game to game. We think, Atlanta's in control, and then Milwaukee wins the next game. You know, so I don't think the players believe in the momentum within a series nearly as much as we focus on it. So I think you'll be all right.
Thank you for watching. You can subscribe here to get the latest from the show, and be sure to check out more of the best clips from Undisputed, or go watch a few other segments from our other shows on FS1.